Okay, so let's talk a little bit the crossover from comic to RPG. So I'm assuming it's same universe, same world. What else is sort of crossed over between the RPG and the comic? Like, do you need to read the comic for the RPG, or it
It
just
will
complement?
help.
Okay,
Yeah, they do kind
okay,
of complement each other, but you can basically get like all the events. The RPG is set 10 years later after the events, so all the events in the graphic novel you could come to the RPG and just learn as part of the lore
okay.
associated to it. So that's caked in, like that can happen. Um, and but really it comes down to the titular, like the Entropy Engine itself, which
Right.
was a cool name that I built a story around.
Yeah, you know
You
what?
know,
If you don't mind, do you mind talking a little bit about that? Because
sure,
I had to do a little homework, right? I went
yeah,
through, I got the gist of the whole thing. I
yeah,
think it's a very cool idea. So maybe give the elevator pitch on that.
yeah. It's kind of high
Yep.
concept. I don't know if it's going
Yep.
to be an elevator pitch. This might be,
Oh
but
no, go for it. We got
uh,
time. We're
yeah.
streaming now. We're good. We're good, man.
The whole thought process started
Yeah.
where it started with a video game, and I was imagining, like, I was playing like Portal, and I was like Half-Life 2, and
Mm.
those games have the portal gun and the gravity gun respectively. That's
Yep.
special, like, that do weird physics stuff or create portals and things. And I thought how great it would be to have like a weapon in an RPG that where you could blast an enemy in it or an NPC with it, and it would just turn them into a monster. And it could be like whatever, just these crazy random, and like so hard to do in a video game because how do you spawn all that in like
Right.
randomly? You can't really do it.
Right.
But I just kept imagining like running around in like a 3D environment and just like just blast somebody and they turn into that giant crocodile monster that Nick is drawing. And so we
Nice.
kind of like worked like backwards from that, and I was like just kind of like putting words together, and I thought of Entropy Engine, and then I kind of worked backwards to try to explain like what it does and what it is. So the full name is the Entropic Genome Reconfiguration Engine, and let's call it Entropy Engine for short. And I created this sci-fi concept, pseudoscience sci-fi concept of entropic fields. So if you read the actual pseudoscience that's in there,
Yeah.
There's this mention of like entropic field generations, which is according to my fake sci-fi mythology is like a force field kind of thing where it's just like you keep all the molecules so excited within this area that it creates this sort of false state of entropy where all the atoms are kind of pulling apart, and this creates like kind of a force field. So the Entropy Engine itself will pull people apart, pull them and put them back together in different ways. And initially, there's the society that this is happening in is like this future society. It's utopian. It's like all the problems are solved except people are still getting sick, and it's
Right.
like a very aggressive, very let's say very deadly form of like cancer that they just call the malignancy,
Right.
because it's like more mythological that way, I guess. And so they have this like mythic like enemy that no matter what progress is made, no matter how happy people get, it's like there's still this thing like hanging over them.
Right.
Still, yeah, and that's obviously very devastating. And then of course the irony is that as soon as you solve the final problem, everything goes to hell. And that was just too like just wonderfully ironic to leave alone. Like as a writer, you love having moments like that where you're.
So is there a lesson here?
I don't know. That's
just leave it alone.
yeah. I don't
Be
know
happy
that
with
there's
what
a
you
lesson.
got.
Yeah. So I mean, I did a bunch of other stuff to like totally problematize it entirely.
Right.
And I don't really know what the lesson is. It's actually, without going into too much detail, it's a little bit of misdirection because it's not really about society. Like, and you'll see like when it comes together at the end, like it's really about this family, like this one family that just
Right.
Eudora creates the Entropy Engine. It's sabotaged. It's pretty clearly sabotaged if you read the first chapter, and creates a disaster. Hurts people, hurts their test subject, and and she's like, her whole livelihood is like on the line, like with this thing, and it just sort of blew up in her face. So the first chapter ends with her grabbing it and running, which I think is hilarious. I think it's the first thing that I wrote, like in the story, when I was giving it to Gaia Cardinale is the illustrator. She's brilliant.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, she's just fine arts graduate from the Art Academy in Bologna. Definitely, very happy with like the partnership and how it came together, despite a language barrier, because English is her second language, and I'm American. So
oh, really?
I don't know anything other than American. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess we kind of got derailed when we were talking about this, but yeah, it's all about this. Ultimately, it's about this family, and they all like a thing happens, and in a utopian society, something happening doesn't happen a lot. Like stuff actually happening is not a thing that like. Yes, there she is. I wanted to choose that as the image of her like running away is like so important.
This one, yeah,
yeah. It's like look at the look on her face,
Yeah.
It's just like, what do? You work your life on this thing, and at the moment that you show everybody, it's this big public debacle that just
the scrubs flying in the wind.
It just goes completely off the rails, And
fantastic.
Yeah, so that's kind of where all that like came from, and then what eventually happens is that it does find its way into the wrong hands, and it's hacked by a bunch of people that live underneath the city. And what we then find out is like basically the ruins of our world. I started calling the city in Entropy Engine Platform City just as a placeholder, but then it stuck, and we decided to just keep it because it's. Again, also, I find this shit hilarious. I find this hilarious, where like it's called Platform City, and then you find out the whole thing is built on a massive platform that the people who live there don't even know. Maybe they've lived their whole lives in it, and they don't even know that it's like literally on a giant platform, and then all of our ruined society lives like underneath it, and it's just like toxic waste under it. So it eventually finds its way to a cult that lives in the Undercity, and when we open the book, which if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see the opening. It's there. We're right in the middle of the attack of all these like freshly mutated cult members, like attacking the city on top for no good reason, just no good reason at all. So,
wow.
I don't really know that there's a message. Somebody could probably tell me what it is.
I just threw it out there, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it seems to be the message in a lot of these.
Yeah.
Just stop messing with stuff.
No,
but that sounds really great. That sounds fun, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So how did so you're mentioning the illustrator. So how did that happen?
I put an ad up. Put an ad up for Entropy Engine on a connecting comic book writers and artists group on Facebook, and she responded with her portfolio, and it was really what I wanted. It was exactly what I was looking for, and she responded quickly to the brightness of like Platform City. So I was like, it's utopian, it's Edenic.
Did she color her own work?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gorgeous colors.
I know.
That's really great. Here, I'm going to share it again.
Yeah, I love it.
Share it again here.
It's very different from anything else that you've created as well. And
yeah, it is.
I love these panels, dear.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's really a lot of fun. And again, that comedy where they see what's happening, which is this. I love drawing like
this guy right here.
Reaction shots. Yeah, it's too good.
Yeah.
But also there's like
everything. This guy's a mouth breeder. Anyway.
The other funny thing is just like everything is normal. Things are normal. Everything's happening. Things are normal. And then bam, it's just nuts everywhere.
Uh-oh.
So yeah.
Very cool. Did you timeline this, or is it just like any particular time in the future, or are you just sort of
I feel like when I started, I had this idea in my head that it was like really far into the future. And
Okay,
then
yeah.
as I'm developing it and as I'm writing it and we're seeing the things that are important to the characters in the story and how they talk with each other and what's actually in the Undercity, it's getting more and more closer to where we are as I'm doing this. So I did not have a set timeline. I actually really appreciate it in a lot of sci-fi when they don't tell you what time things are happening.
Yeah.
Because it leaves you up to, you don't have to sit there and as soon as somebody tells me like when something is happening in something, I am taking out of the movie and I have to think about all those years.
Is 2020 right here. Yeah.
I know.
I agree. And so I think it actually could hinder the potential future comics if you sort of pigeonhole yourself into a timeline. I was just curious if you've done that. Very cool. Okay, so I want to jump over again. So we've talked a little about the project itself. I kind of want to jump back to the RPG a little bit as well. So is there an ideal number of players that you would have for this? Oh, actually, a couple of questions. I'll make it a two-parter. One, is it newbie friendly, like first time?
Yeah, I would think so.
RPG?
Since we're going with like really like pick up and play kind of mechanics.
Okay.
It's not a complicated character session kind of thing. There's not really. I've been back and forth about like when I first started doing it, I wanted Black Hack doesn't have a skill system, and I was like maybe we could put a skill system in Black Hack and think about what kind of far future skills that would be associated with it. And I've sort of I've came back on that a little bit now. So the classes that we have in there, they're all going to have like a core skill class, and that's just going to be the thing that they can do, and anything else that they want to attempt is going to be up to the DM to decide. As far as your question, is it newbie friendly? Yeah, I think so. I love the simplicity of Black Hack and like pick up and play games.
Nice.
From what I mean, we have 4th edition players here, but I know people do. I have like other people that are friends of mine that want like not to put you on the spot, Ricky Lima. But I know I have like other friends that want like a bit of more of a crunch like with their game, and so they don't feel like they're doing anything unless they got a lot of math or something. But I wanted it to be like I like the simplicity of it. I want it to be pick up and play kind of
good. And
the other thing about it is like set 10 years in the future, like the main goal of what I want the game to be is to like the players should have some role in determining what humanity's next step is. So it's not really talked about like in the series, but what happens when you solve that last problem, you could join like the Federation or something and it can become a space game. You could go out into the wastelands, like who knows what's outside Platform City.
Right.
The citizens don't know. It could become an apocalyptic wasteland at that point. You could turn it into Legion of Superheroes if you wanted to, because you have this mechanic by which, or X-Men for that matter, you have this mechanic by which people can alter their DNA and they can experiment with it and have these like really like potentially really chaotic things happen to your character, where they might turn into some kind of crazy chimeric thing type of something, So
I guess you could just ramp it up. How many players you could like? I assume.
I don't know. As many as your table fits, I would do. I like 4. 4 is usually nice.
4 is the usual. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
So a regular one.